I think the best way to tell you about myself and how I got to what I do now is to take you back to October of 2008. If you remember, the stock market was crashing. We went into the Great Recession. I worked at Texas Instruments at the time, and a company with 35,000 employees had just announced a layoff of 1,400, except they didn't say who. So I was possibly losing my savings because of the recession. I was possibly losing my job at Texas Instruments, but the biggest concern that I had was that I had to come up with a topic for my PhD dissertation. And my mentor, Cordy, aimed pretty high. He said that he wanted me to come up with a topic that will make my life better and hopefully the lives of other people. And I kept coming up with topics for a dissertation, and he kept saying, no, not good enough. And he kept on aiming higher, and I kept getting annoyed. And at some point, he asked me a pivotal question. He asked me, what pisses you off? And well, I wanted to say, you, because I'm trying to come up with a topic and you keep shooting them down. But the words that came out of my mouth were, why are people so much more creative when they work in startups than when they work in large, mature companies? There was silence on the other side of the line. And then he said, I think we have a topic. So I spent the next 2 years researching, and when I was done writing the dissertation, I sent him a note saying, I'm ready to send you the whole thing. I'm almost done. And he said, why don't you email it to me? And I said, give me another week just to, clean it up. He said, fine. That was Sunday. But unfortunately, Cody went to sleep Monday and did not wake up Tuesday morning. So I dedicated that dissertation to him, that research to him. I did graduate, and this is me with my daughter Shira. She was 9 at the time. She's 19 now and in college. And right after the graduation, we came home, and Shira had a friend over for a play date. And Shira's friend said, where have you been this summer? And Shira said, we just came back from my daddy's doctoral graduation ceremony. And so her friend was amazed and said, so Shira, your daddy's a doctor? And Shira thought about this for a second and said, yeah, but not the useful kind. Well, people ask me, what is the answer? Why are people so much more creative when they work in startups than when they work in large, mature companies? And I can really boil it down to one word: innovation culture. Actually, it's 2 words if you do put the space in between them. And when I had to break down what innovation culture is, I created this model. And in the top are the good things in green, bottom, red things, bad. On the left side, this is the vertical relationship between leaders and their followers. And on the right side, those are the things that happen within a team. So a good leader provides autonomy and in response gets accountability. A bad leader provides bureaucracy and formalization and in return gets CYA behavior. On the other side, a good working team is capable of holding a constructive disagreement as opposed to, in the bottom side, a destructive disagreement or hold office politics. Well, in 2017, my 7th book, Culture Starts With You, Not Your Boss, was going through editing, and I was meeting with a customer, with a company, and as I was trying to explain to them the important things in a culture of innovation, all those things in that model that I showed you, what I realized after 20 minutes was what was the foundation, because they were lacking a foundation. That foundation prevented them from doing any of those good things and actually forced them to do all the bad things in the bottom. And that foundation was trust. And what I found was that trust is the foundation for everything. In another research that I did, I correlated the level of autonomy that your boss is willing to give you or any leader is willing to give their employees, and I correlated it to the level of trust, and the correlation was 67%. There's a 67% of how trusted you are with how much autonomy you're going to get from your supervisor. On the team side, the ability to hold a constructive disagreement, when I started asking people, do you feel comfortable holding a disagreement? Do you feel comfortable passionately disagreeing and still remaining friends? I gave them 5 options, and what I found was that in a low trust environment, you are 10 times more likely to decide that a disagreement is unproductive, you are not willing to hold disagreement, you don't feel comfortable, or you're trying to avoid them altogether. Whereas on the other side, at high trust environments, high trust companies, people are feeling much more comfortable disagreeing, suggesting stupid ideas, being vulnerable, and holding a constructive disagreement. The components of constructive disagreement I found to be three. One is your willingness to be vulnerable with another person, ask stupid questions, suggest stupid ideas. Two is your willingness to provide direct, unfiltered feedback. And three is how receptive you are to that kind of feedback. Once again, I compared it between high trust organizations and low trust organizations, and I found that in high trust environments, you are 240% more likely to be willing to be vulnerable, 106% more likely to provide direct, unfiltered feedback, and 76% more likely to be accepting that kind of feedback. Trust is the foundation for everything. And I think that I owe you a definition of what trust is. Trust to me is the level to which you are willing to accept the potential negative consequences of giving control over something you have to another person. I'll say it one more time. It is the level to which you're willing to accept the potential negative consequences of giving control over something you have to another person.